Welcome back, my fellow OMI homies. It's Foster, and I'm back at it again with another VEVE and ECOMI video. You're going to notice in today's video, I'm a little bit more upbeat than normal. I got to say, I'm extra excited for this video, so I really hope that you guys enjoy it. Before I get too much into it, I do want to thank everyone for all the support you've been giving me on the channel recently. The last few videos have all been receiving over 1,000 views, and they've been fairly well received within the community. I'm receiving a lot of positive comments and everything. I just want to thank you all for the support. At the end of the day, like I said, I make these videos because I think that they're interesting, but I hope that they add value to your lives as well. So when you guys comment and let me know how you feel about them, whether it's positive or negative, it helps inform my opinion and make content that I believe will be interesting and that you guys will find valuable. Based on that, that's actually what inspired today's video. I just wanted to give a special shout out to Mehdi, who reached out to me on my Twitter, as well as commented on one of my videos and said that he thought I'd be interested in looking into the HEX token, which is not what today's video is about, but it did inspire the topic. So I just want to thank Mehdi for reaching out. He mentioned that the HEX token had a very similar circulating supply to the OMI token, as well as similar tokenomics, and asked me if I'd be willing to look into it because he had seen it had some good growth. So thank you very much, Mehdi, for reaching out to me. Like I said, I make these videos because you guys have the questions and I want to answer them for you. So with that in mind, very quick overview of what HEX is. Once again, want to reiterate, this is an ECOMI and VEVE video, but it is important to understand the foundation, what I'm going to be talking about, what's coming next. So essentially, HEX is a cryptocurrency on the Ethereum blockchain, and essentially it is a certificate of deposit. So how non-fungible tokens have a smart contract associated with them, this certificate of deposit is basically something on the blockchain. It's a ledger that accounts for a deposit of a currency. And then as a part of it, you earn APY or interest based on your deposit. And it basically, what they're claiming anyways is that it's decentralized. So there's no central entity, bureaucracy, or overhead, and no bonuses awarded to anyone besides users who stake HEX. So when they allow all of their overhead to be eliminated, they can offer better interest than a lot of other things. And so because this token has utility, you will see as we get into the video, it's been quite successful. So why am I talking about HEX when you guys know that I'm all in on VEVE and ECOMI? The reason that I'm talking about HEX is because it has very similar tokenomics to the VEVE token in that it has a very similar circulating supply and has utility, which allows it to be staked and taken out of the circulating supply to increase its value. So I'm going to take you on a historical framework over the last 6 months of where the OMI token has been and where it is now, and where the HEX token has been and where it is now. And you'll see that it's a very different story than what we've experienced here in the ECOMI and VEVE community. But what I believe is based on the catalysts that we do have coming forward in the next few weeks and months, we may actually see a very similar growth to what HEX experienced. And I have to say, I'm very excited and very bullish on the numbers that I ran. So I'm going to run them by you. And then of course, if you guys have any thoughts on it, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. So with that being said, I went back to March 19th. This was the date that OMI hit its current all-time high. So the highest that it had ever been, March 19th, 0.013 cents. That was when we hit over a penny. That's the highest that we've ever been. At that same time, I went and looked at HEX, which had a token price of 0.011. So as you can see, very similar cost. The volume on that day for ECOMI was 131.6 million, and they had a market cap of $2.1 billion at the time. HEX only had a volume of 5.71 million, so not a hugely traded day, but a market cap of 2.07 billion. So as you can see, these prices and market caps are very similar. And why is that important? Because the current token circulation of OMI is 216 billion tokens, according to CoinGecko, and the current circulating supply of HEX is 173.4 billion. These, of course, were even closer 6 months ago before founder unlocks had occurred. So HEX is a great benchmark measurement that we can use as a reference to see what a crypto project that has a similar circulating supply and a similar market cap to OMI can do when it has utility and people investing in it. So with that in mind, we fast forward 6 months. I picked September 8th because that was the highest that HEX has peaked at. Of course, we know that ECOMI is currently not peaking. We are in a period of consolidation. And on September 8th, we hit about 0.0039 cents with OMI. We had a volume of 13.1 million, so we actually had a fairly good trading day. We've known that that number's dropped all the way down to about 2 or 3 million for the vast period of July and August. So it's good to see that number starting to bounce up, and a market cap of $864 million, which is fairly respectable considering that we were below $500 million for quite a period of time. Hex, on the other hand, has a price of 45 cents, a volume of 101 million, very similar to what OMI had during its peak moment, and a market cap of $78 billion. This is a very different story over a period of time. And you're probably sitting there asking yourselves, well, how are the two related whatsoever? And the important thing to keep in mind is that we're focusing on tokens that have utility, Hex in the form of staking as rewards, and OMI, which is going to very shortly after the move to immutable have several forms of utility that we know about that I've discussed in previous videos, which could allow the growth that we've seen with Hex. So over 6 months, we notice when we look at the Hex chart, it's a very gradual growth, albeit the last 2 weeks, they've always had quite a bit of a run up. But even then, if you look back in July, like 17 cents, they went, in 4 months from 1 penny, they 17x'd in 3 months. And it was a very casual growth, one that is sustainable. And as you can see, there's not any huge drop-offs at any point because the growth was not artificial. It had a use case and utility. People understood and valued that utility, and therefore people continue to invest in it. We know right now OMI doesn't necessarily have a utility, but we understand the premise behind it. And similarly to how Hex had a gradual run up, we've seen a gradual decline in the OMI token price over the same period of time. We haven't seen crazy volatility, albeit here when we're at our all-time highs, but this range for consolidation is actually very bullish. This isn't a pump and dump. This isn't people rug pulling. This is a normal consolidation during a time of uncertainty when people are waiting for that next catalyst to push them forward. We know that OMI has about 30% of the value that it had 6 months ago. So essentially it's negative 3x over the last 6 months. I know for a lot of people that bought in around the all-time high, it's a painful proposition. I'm right there with you. For those of you that don't know, I hold 14 million OMI tokens. I am heavily invested in the project, and I do feel the pain. There's definitely been some swings and days that I've woken up and not been very excited to look at my portfolio. But Hex, on the other hand, has gained 4,090% more than what it was valued at back on March 19th in the same period. So it 41x'd while ECOMI went negative 3x. This isn't to bash OMI. This isn't to say you should go invest in Hex, but this is to give you a perspective of two tokens that had very similar circulating supplies that were in a very similar position at the same time, one of which had catalysts in the form of staking as a model to push its value that propelled it to the level that it's at now, and another one that has yet to be able to focus on the token because it was focusing on the utility of the app. But as we know, and as ECOMI has stated, moving forward, as we move over to immutable and we can start listing the OMI token on exchanges, and we can start adding in forms of utility such as the master collector program, OMI to NFT, buying and burning as a form of utility in the VEVE-verse, we have so many positive catalysts to look forward to. So this is why I think that this is an important distinction. We even know that the total supply of all tokens is very similar relative to one another. We know that OMI's total supply is 750 billion, but we know that 97 billion has been permanently removed forever, and that hasn't been reflected in this. So similarly, their total supply is very similar to their current circulating supply. So they're very equivalent when it comes to their tokenomics in the fact that they're both deflationary, in that although the Hex token doesn't get burned, when it is staked as a form of utility, it is removed from the circulating supply, increasing its value, similarly to how we know the OMI token will likely be when it has forms of utility such as the master collector program. And that of course doesn't even include buybacks as a form of burn pressure. That doesn't include all of the other avenues that I've discussed. So this is very, very exciting. There's a couple other factors that I want to focus on here that I think are important that go to show you small catalysts that we may not think of will have a huge play and how we deal with things moving forward. So one of the first things that I noticed is the trading pairs. Right now, OMI only has 5 trading pairs listed on CoinGecko. We know of them right now: Gate.io, Bitforex, Uniswap, OKX. They're the main pairs. And of course, none of them are currently paired to Ethereum at this time. Hex, on the other hand, has 132 trading pairs listed with it. I scrolled through them, and I have to be honest with you, I didn't recognize a lot of the exchanges that they were listed on, and I'll take a moment to show them to you guys. Uniswap, obviously, but SushiSwap, YoBit, QuickSwap, HoneySwap, all of these swaps that, I've never really heard of. And it does go down further on the CoinMarketCap, but unfortunately it doesn't show them all here, which is fine. But, I hadn't heard of a lot of these things, but as we can see, the trading volume, and a lot of them are at 0, but the pairs are available to trade. And of course, we know that access likely will increase value, right? Because the more people that have access to it and that can buy it or trade it, the more likely it is to increase in value because the more people that hold it. As a part of that, the total wallets that we have right now, OMI's at about 138,000, and that's the most recent data that's been released by OMI Data that came out earlier today. And Hex is at about 239,000 wallets. So they have less than double the amount of wallets, but their price differential is significantly higher. So it's not like Hex has 3 or 4 million people invested in it, and that explains why the price has gone up so much. It's the fact that it has utility that is currently being utilized to increase the value for the amount of holders. 239,000 holders is not that many holders. When you think about other coins that maybe have less utility, we think about our Safe Moons, our Doge coins, all of those that, don't have any real world utility, but that have a lot of hype. They have a lot more holders than that. So the fact that the people that are invested in this, obviously they strongly believe in it because they're putting quite a bit of money into it, and it is significantly increasing the value relative to the amount that they invested. Another thing that I found very interesting is that OMI's on 128,000 watch lists on CoinMarketCap. Hex is only on 58,000. So what that tells me is that a lot more people are interested in what is currently going to be happening with the OMI token than what is happening with Hex. And to be fair, if you look at the charts for the tokens, an inexperienced investor would far likely invest in Hex than they would be in ECOMI that's down 80%. But for those of you that have been in the project and understand what's coming, I would much rather be in this situation and investing now than investing in the Hex token when it's already, where's the support level here, right? Like when you think about it. So I'm not a trader. I plan to hold my OMI bags and I'm going to hold them for dear life until we hit whatever price targets we're going to hit. But this is just to show you an example that over a very short period of time, remember, this is 6 months, guys. Like they went from 1 cent to 46 cents at their peak. And they did it with very similar token numbers and very similar tokenomics. I posted this earlier today on my Twitter, and it's important to understand it's something that was shared by Binance. Market cap is simply just the current price times the circulating supply. So when I say that we're comparing Hex and OMI, it is based on the fact that they have a very similar circulating supply and they had a very similar current price. So the fluctuation in the market cap, the amount of money that's being put into the space, is what we're seeing as the catalyst that has pushed Hex up. The fact that it's at, $78 billion as a market cap and OMI hasn't even broken a billion, there's a lot of room for us to grow, and there's a lot of positive things that are going to allow us to do so. So finally, and I don't want to make this video too long, as I'm sure it's already running long, as all my videos tend to do, what could the future value be if the OMI token had a similar growth to what we experienced with the Hex token over the last 6 months? So if OMI added its utility and it grew based on the similar circulating supply and the similar market cap, to where Hex ended up being at $78 billion market cap, what would we be seeing for the OMI token? If we went up to $78 billion from our current price, it would be a 90x. And the current price of the OMI token would be 35 cents. I'm never one to make price predictions. I still think that a lot of the other content creators' predictions of 2 to 5 cents are hopefully, with the utility, very realistic. But I also want to instill in people, and by no means am I a moon boy, but things can change very quickly in crypto with just 1 or 2 catalysts that push it forward. ECOMI and VEVE have like 6 coming that we know of. Not even the ones that they haven't announced yet, just the ones that we know of in the next 3 to 6 months. It is not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, once again, not financial advice, that we could hit this type of number if the accessibility, being listed on exchanges, the utility of the token gets rolled in, and the social sentiment around NFTs in the VEVE marketplace continues to grow. With all the things that VEVE and ECOMI have coming, you guys very well might need to strap and fasten your seatbelts, because when I ran this, guys, for the first time in a while, I could say I was genuinely giddy and like a kid in a candy store. The numbers make sense to me based on the tokenomic models of both projects. And once again, ECOMI is a deflationary token that will have like 6 different types of deflationary measures that will assist it in its growth on top of just the exposure that it's getting. So if we move over to Immutable, guys, and we start to get listed on some big exchanges, and we find out that you can list some of those collectibles on OpenSea, and the MTL comes through, and you can start, adding more money to raise the floor of those collectibles, and some of these bigger NFT influencers on social media start to really talk about VEVE, we could be seeing growth like we saw here that could conceivably, if done in a correct manner, be sustainable. And we saw it here. To anyone that say that sustained growth is not possible, we're seeing it right now before our eyes with a project with very similar tokenomic parameters. I'll leave you guys with that. That's all I got for you today. And I'm very, very excited about it. And I'm also very curious to hear all of your thoughts down in the comment section. Like I said, I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. I will be responding to as many people as I can. If you have any more ideas for any videos that you'd like to see or any collaborations or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. I love getting to know the ECOMI community, the VEVE community, and working with as many people as I can. I just love learning more and more about this project every day. And as you can see from the look on my face, every single time I learn about a piece of information like this, I just get more and more bullish. So once again, thank you so much. If you did like this video and you are enjoying the content, please do consider subscribing. I don't normally ask, but I am finding that the more subscribers that you have, I guess the more people get to view your videos. So I personally don't care about the number. I'm not looking to be monetized, but I guess if the number goes up, the more people we can get this out to in the community, which I think would be awesome, because I do think everyone should find out about this because it's super exciting. With that being said, as always, guys, I love you. Peace.